Yo, what's going on, everybody? Andy's Crypto Talk here, and we had to jump on live right away. The markets are getting crazy rattled right now. So like, yeah, I mean, just looking at this chart that first loaded up, we're actually getting close to what I had as a danger line on Solana, around 117. So I mean, this is a crazy dip, and a lot of people are saying it's over, but I wouldn't get too hasty. So I just wanted to hop on and just chat a little bit while the markets are plummeting. BTC just broke underneath 80K, getting right back to cloudy the second. So we have this kind of zone here between 77 and 80. It's pretty gappy though. Like there's not much there. So might actually end up probably closer to 75, 76. And I would say, worst case we end up down in the 69 region at some point. But you can also see that, right? It broke below this and it just continued selling off. So this was a telltale trend line. And you could have got tighter and tighter with it if you went in lower and lower time frames. You could have looked at it very close here. Right? And then you would have seen even closer. And we can see once, it kind of rejected above this trend line, it didn't make it. It bounced, it hit this. Well, that's what made this, I should say. And then when it came back and sort of played around right here, this would have been kind of a telltale sign and a good place to maybe enter a trade. That's if you were bearish, but to be honest, I just do longs. I don't really short. I look at where price would get bearish. But yeah, this is out of the question now. And the interesting thing to see here is that it was topped that day, the Trump day, right? So Trump pump, Trump dump, and then we have a correction, of course, after the dump, we might play around a little bit before we continue back on up. It is starting to look like a big old Bart, and we've talked about these before. He's saying cowabunga. You get the picture. The question is, where does the Bart, where does it end? It doesn't look like it retested this as it escaped. It didn't retest that high right there. So potentially, come in and test this high, and then maybe potentially either drive back down or make our way back up. Those are kind of the two scenarios moving forward. But I would say, wait for this thing to grab a level and then make some move out of it either way. And then kind of play that sort of structure. Because right now it's going to be very tough on people, like I'm sure you would be, especially people that zeroed out. Like that's the one thing I would say is make sure you do not... don't go all in on leverage stuff when like things are getting this crazy. When price is this volatile, to say, because it can cause you to lose a lot more than you want, to be honest. Let's see, where's did it even revisit this? No, I didn't even revisit that. So I could take a look at just see it this trend. Yeah, 69, 65 to 69 is, if it continues down at this velocity, that's kind of like, if it breaks down below that, that's where it's like, okay, it's over. But you can see there's so much volume up here. So much support between 73 and 70. I don't think it's going below that to a significant degree. And I think this is a good area right now, actually, to be honest. Just in this cloudy the second area, you know, this 77 and 80 is actually a pretty decent spot for it to bounce. But next sort of level would be to look at around 73.9, 74-ish. But yeah, like Sol was looking like it was having some outperformance, and it's eating it just as bad as ETH, BTC. Like, I mean, this thing just keeps perpetually going down, and of course that's sending ETH USD down. And ETH USD just broke the lows. We have this structure line between 2100, 2137. See if it bounces here. If not, you know, the ETH is cooked down into these ranges. That's where I would look for the next area, kind of the 1750, 1850 area. That's if it goes much lower than here. It's probably gonna dump. Yeah, like, see, Sol ETH was starting to bounce. Sol BTC, not as much, kind of going sideways. So yeah, same with Sol D. I mean, it made a good significant bounce and then it corrected back down. Same with BTC, right? Like, it was significantly outperforming right away. But now just recently it's kind of dumping again. So we'll see if this kind of flags out and continues back up. I know a lot of people were thinking alt season. Where is that? I've got this somewhere here. Sorry if I blind you. Oh god, that blinds for a minute. 33, so it actually bounced a significant bit, and I would say this is to do with other coins rather than things like Solana. LTC I think has been pumping pretty good. So what else maybe we can see in here? I think Hype had a good bounce. XMR, I seen something about XMR as well. But this one's telling. Yesterday was extreme fear. Now we're in extreme fear. I think tomorrow again we're gonna see a real low number here, just based off breaking that 80K. Whoops. That's kind of, I think, worst case. Sol bounces down around here. BTC dominance. Yeah, I mean, that one's, it looks like it's about to start bouncing again, potentially. But it broke down there. So we kind of watch out for that for that alt season. That one's dangerous. See, this is what I said, kind of. This is where we see whether it's going to pump up or go down. And it's pumping up. I don't know if it goes that high, man. That's crazy. But I said look for these kind of, you want to see these as resistance. Just create a lower high. And this is actually an interesting point right here, right? So we want to make sure it doesn't push through here. If it pushes through here, then that's danger as well. And I think this plays a big part. We did talk about VIX. Talked about it staying underneath this sort of 19 range. And we can see it, you know, it kind of flagged and now it's pushing up. That's dangerous for entire market. Dixie's back above that red line. That's also dangerous, again, for the entire market. So that means, yeah, like we got major dumpage in indices. QQ, SPX. Yeah, like overall the markets are looking pretty stressed. You know, NASDAQ being the one that's actually losing the lows here, previous lows, which is not good to see. You know, like that's, I think if we paired it up and matched it up, like NAS and then add BTC in there, same percent scale? No. No, that's not what we wanted. Let's get rid of that and add it in. New price scale. Yeah, I mean it. You can see it's got similarities, right? So yeah, 20 to 21. Even here we can see like indices and Bitcoin, bit of sideways action. Indices started pumping, and then Bitcoin followed. Actually, kind of front ran. You can see where it front runs, and where it lags. Maybe it was lagging right here, right? But it's just interesting to see, right, that this similar bear market structure that we can see here on NASDAQ and crypto alike. And then what we saw, just trying to get this scaled a little bit better for you guys, but it's tough. It's a little bit off. It's not perfect. But we got to see that top, so I do have to scale it down a bit. So you can see indices like NASDAQ started taking off earlier. Of course, because it wasn't as hurt as crypto. Like crypto got hurt by FTX and things. But the same sort of, you know, move upward. It started a correction here on NASDAQ, and we had a much, you know, more prolonged correction, whereas NASDAQ went back up and then went back down, almost retested this low. You know, right when Bitcoin made its low there, even, and you can see these lows are lined up, and then the push up. This is kind of like catch up, right? Bitcoin is just it's oscillating similarly to NASDAQ. But it does kind of play like a lag and then a catch-up play. Either way, just something interesting I thought we should look at. So, obviously we want to see some bullishness in things like indices. for these things to push back up. If we look at the larger trend, low to high, you know, maybe we bounce somewhere around here, potentially as low as just under 20. This would be kind of, I would feel a little more dangerous if it got to the golden pocket. But the 382 is actually a strong bounce in the trend, so just something to look at, right? Yeah, just something to look at. It is breaking a few of these lows, so that is, again, it's dangerous. But yeah, look, Biddy's getting a bit of a bounce here right off our zone. If we pop down to the 1 hour, it still looks really bearish. You'd have to go right down to like the 6 minute to see some bullishness in this, but that's a big down candle right there. 2% in 6 minutes, down from 81 down to 80. Yeah, just kind of look for this thing to turn around in a big way. I think buying the dip anywhere down here is pretty significant. Like, I think it's a worthy dip buying opportunity. I did say it in the chat. Even if I said it early, I think, you know, you guys probably should be DCAing, not just buying all at once. But that having been said, like, if you were to just clip in all your bag right now, I think you will be in the next year happy with your purchase. And so these are kind of those dip buying opportunities that we don't get to see as often. And you know, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, it's over, but I don't think it's actually over yet, to be honest. I think this cycle is going to be different than this one, and past ones, potentially many cycles. I mean, it looks pretty close to where we targeted, though. We targeted right around 111. So, I mean, my targets still did pretty good. But these cycles previously, they just all looked a little bit different, right? Maybe it could be closer to something like this one. But maybe this giga send afterwards isn't as crazy. But yeah, you know, like, I would look at this and just see. With this cycle, we had 39%, and then 40%, right? And that was after, you know, a move of 230% and a move of 170. So you have fairly similar moves. And then we can kind of calculate based off those a ratio of what this one would be. That's a big one, 559 after all that. And let's just see what this previous one was. So it was a 374% move. So actually a bigger move to the upside and less downside. Then we had 120%, so less of a move to the upside. And then so far, only 24% to the downside. Oh, I think we're lower than that right now, right? We're at 80, 79 something we hit. So 27% is what we hit. I was saying around here, 75, kind of, that would look like a good bounce, or down all the way to 73 would be 32%. To take us to 40%, correction would be about there, but 31 was our previous dip. So we could go as low as 75, 74.5 to get the similar dip that this one was. Similar size dip, I should say. And then look at, like, you know, it's interesting because this move, I mean, you could, I guess you could say that it might have been this one. Yeah, 200%, right? That would make more sense, that move. This was just bear market back into the, like, range. Possibly. Let's see, because that one wasn't right from the lows, I don't think, that I measured there. Yeah, I don't think I measured right from the lows. Because if I measured right from the lows... Oh, yeah, that's 1,600% move, right. So, I think I was measuring just this previous low to this high. Oh, no, it was this one. Yeah, it was that range. So kind of look at, like, after it went parabolic, that's what I was measuring. So, mind you, the gains are, I think they're going to be a little bit different. So yeah, kind of after it went parabolic, it would have been like right here. Right around here. Mind you, it was different ratio because it was like, you know, above this high. We only just broke out. Right? So like that was our breakout out of the previous high. Why did my music stop? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, mind you, there's some craziness going on, of course, in Sol, BTC, ETH, all these majors. There's our other projections we had. Let's get rid of those. They were off. Yeah, so, I mean, again, these are very big assets, less volatility. You know, we have Citadail that we talk about, and we saw this thing correct down, doing its full, basically, cycle much earlier than something like Bitcoin or Solana or anything like that. But the one thing I would point out with this one is that it's already kind of retraced a majority of the pump that it went through. And we're going through that sort of like Wall Street cheat sheet sort of cycle. It's still staying off this lowest low over here that I had marked out. Actually, the lowest low would have been a little bit under that. But the one thing I'd say is to pay attention to what's happening with these Bollinger Bands squeezing even tighter. So at some point here, we're going to see some major volatility on this thing. And since it is so low already in market cap and liquidity, the volatility is more than likely to the upside. And this thing is now becoming very supportive in these low ranges. And we can see these are getting tighter and tighter even on the 4 hour. Right? At some point we're going to see a massive move from this. And as you can see, this worm that's sort of laying down, it's getting to the point where it's going to just continue rising instead of just going down. And we've seen that just recently here, I would say. You know, the bottom became flat after this little pump we had. And now it did go down again from where it pinched up, and now flat again. Now it's starting to rise up. And we can see this one, top one, is pinched down just recently. So that would have signified for you, you know, some volatility is coming. And it did start coming in the downside here. But that's, of course, tied in with the bigger stuff, right? This, you know, just in the last 4 hours, Bitcoin itself went down 5%. So, I mean, you would anticipate that in a 4 hour stretch, you would have these squeezed down even farther. But not really, right? It only went down about 6%. 6.5% in that sort of candle, 10% in the past sort of 2 candles. So yeah, I mean, not a whole lot more. And to be honest, when you see this was 18th of February around let's say noon. That was the lowest low it's created recently. Oh, I guess this one was just a little bit lower. Regardless, it made this first attempt at this low on the 18th at about noon. And the 18th at about noon, Bitcoin was right around here. There it is. So Bitcoin was right here, 94K, it's at 80K. We haven't actually broken that low yet, right? So this is showing a little bit of strength over top. And of course, I mean, yeah, a lot of people be like, well, it's a shit coin and all that stuff. Well, to be fair, anything but Bitcoin can be considered a shit coin as well. And you would look the same thing here on ETH. 12 o'clock ETH, it's went way under that low. Even Sol, which was showing some strength, has gone under that low, right? So Sol going down 7.3% in that one candle, and something like Citadail is attached to them, like it's paired off Sol, right? So you would anticipate this go down even further, but holding up some strength here. So that just shows, I think, that the sellers are really out of something like this one. Of course, Wall Street cheat sheet. We can tell obviously what part of the cycle we are in just by looking at, looking at the chart, zooming out. Let's get rid of these Bollinger Bands because they're a bit messy. And get rid of that. Let's just get rid of the drawings for now. Let me get this beside there. Actually, I think I've got the image of it somewhere. Let me pull it up. Come on. Trying to make the window smaller. There we go. Citadel, whoops. So you can kind of tell what we're looking at there, right? Right, so this curve to the upside there, curve to the upside there, and then sort of starting to round out this bottom. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Or you could potentially say, this was anger, this is depression. Although I did create a little bit of a lower low right there. So, anger, depression. And so now we should see, some rounding sort of action on this and sort of just start curling back to the upside. It might take a few weeks at least. I could foresee this, that, within the next few weeks, it starts curling back up, making, potentially some big moves, especially if we see a bounce across the rest, some sort of relief bounce. This thing could really pop up quite significantly. So yeah, just a good place to put some chips on the table for something like Citadel. But yeah, of course, always not financial advice. None of this is. And I wish you guys all a good time in the markets. Dropping back down, it looks like, again on all of these majors. Let's drop it to the 1 hour, 6 minute. Yeah, so it's dropping below again. We could see another capitulation here. It moved down very significantly if you think about it. You know, once it started capitulating here, probably a few hours ago. Yeah, just a few hours ago. 84K down to 79. So it's almost gone 5K quite rapidly. So that same sort of action we could potentially see, that it just does this next move down again very rapidly and just that's it. Then it V reverses and continues on up. So that's why I would say, you know, keep an eye, especially on things like this that can move very easily. Once we see people bidding this back up, I think we see some violent corrections, especially with things like Solana. This thing came down so hard, so significantly, just over the past few weeks. If I just zoom out and look at it on a weekly, you know, that is just some insane bearish price action. From the top, (57% in just a few weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Down only. Since the second week of January. And it's been down only, literally. So there's a point where this, even if it is dead forever, it will do a dead cat bounce. You know, and we'll see like a serious correction before it dies completely. Right? So watch to play that. Unless, you know, it just does something like that, right? Like V reverse, right back up. So again, there's a lot of factors at play here. And what was the one we were talking about? Litecoin. Right? Like this was outperforming big time. It doesn't look anything like what we're just looking at, does it? Which is crazy because we did say that this is kind of a barometer, right? So why the biggest factor for me saying it's not over, this cycle is going to continue, and that potentially there is some differences this time in the length, and this is kind of one of the bigger signs that tells us like potential differences in the length, because this thing rocketed up to 400, and it hasn't gone to 400, and more than likely this will rocket up probably to at least, you know, 300. We'll see this rocket up again, don't you worry. And more than likely it's gonna touch near these tops again, up into the 400s. So yeah, it's not, I don't believe it's over. Let's look at the total and see what markers we have right there. 2.5 trillion. So much support here between 2.58 and 2.45. Huge support. Huge support. Right? 30% correction in the total market cap. So maybe we're there. Or at least very close. Oh, this was 38. Okay, so it could be a little bit lower. Let's see where... Yeah, 2.29 trillion kind of, I would say, worst case scenario. And let's see, how did that line up with the fibs? Yep. 2.38, 2.5. Lines out with the golden pocket for fibs. 2.13 is 786. And we would not want to see this under 1.93 for the total market cap. That would be danger. That would be goodbye, basically. It's all crypto. Forever. Never, ever again. This is a nice place to be bouncing on the 382 of the major swing. Either way, just some other ways to kind of look at this and refresh yourself on what's going on. And again, Citadail, this looks exactly like this at this point. You know, I know we were talking about this a little early potentially. But yeah, this is that downward, that rounding out. And I think that's what we anticipate, you know, the rounding out. Something like that. Unless that's already rounding out like that. The arc. I wish I could clone it, you know? But there is a tool as well. Must be here. An arc. Whoops, that messed it up. Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. That looks pretty good. So just grind up along this arc. Oh, I see what happens when I zoom, it messes it up. So I have to just keep it like that forever? No way. But that's the arc I would look at potentially for the next move up. Unless again, you know, we could create a low, another low, then move from there. That's where that low is from, is right here. After this, that's the low. Never hit it. So, anyways, guys, that's it. I wanna take off. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all you guys for staying with me through all this craziness. I know I say buy the dip a lot, but of course you just want to try to play these markets conservatively. Because yeah, again, having some dry powder is very important, especially when we see everything this red. Like, look at how red it is, right? So ETH outperforming. ETH is getting crushed. Oh yeah. ETH is getting crushed. Sol, is it starting to bounce here? Sorry, let's just drop down real quick. Is it starting to bounce? Oh yeah. What about then? BTC is starting to bounce then too. Yeah, look at that. So starting to bounce. This could be a quick play. You could get in here. Hop in on a quick play. But again, I'm actually not personally, I haven't been playing with leverage since, I think, the last times I played with leverage was the big pump we had up into December. So like kind of this leg, to December. Yeah, so this leg, I was playing with leverage, and then right here, I got wrecked on a couple plays. Not horribly, but it just kind of told me, okay, just sit down for a minute. And so I didn't play leverage through this whole section right here. And that's why you haven't seen me call any trades. Because this was the easy mode. And this was just like free, easy money. This should be too, like I should be watching this type of stuff. Because this is like, I mean, you could get real tight with this. And you can see that's a key level that it bounced on many, many times. And either reclaimed very quickly or just completely lost. So that's a type of range play you could play. But I don't short again. So yeah, I mean, you could play some quick longs, scalp some longs, but I'm not doing leverage right now. So anyways, check out the links in the description. Check out Citadail community, and we'll catch you in the next live stream.